welcome into day 4 of Fantasy Filmball's coverage of the 37th Annual Virginia Film Festival. My name is Dyl, and like I said, day 4, 4 movies on the docket, and we kind of hit all the genres. We got animation, international cinema, horror, and then potentially comedy, depending on what I do for my last film of the day. We had a great lineup for a great festival, so let's not waste any time and dive into our first movie. And I'm basically living inside Violet Crown today. All 4 movies are here. All right, so those 2 films were kind of back to back, and I didn't really have time in between to give my thoughts, so why don't we jump back a little bit and let me tell you about The Glassworkers. And we had a little pre-screening conversation about the movie, and the moderator was telling us about how this film was originally nearing completion in 2016. They've been trying to program it here at the Virginia Film Festival every year since. However, due to funding, due to distribution, the film hasn't really been able to come out, but after 8 years, its journey to cinemas has finally been completed, and I'm so happy I got to see this film at one of its first domestic screenings, because The Glassworkers is this like Pakistani twist on a Studio Ghibli film. It has the iconic, beautiful animation. But just like the 2 leads of this film, Vincent and Elise, The Glassworkers was melded by just craftsmen. As I talked about before, the animation, it's hand-drawn, it's lusciously done. This festival, to be on a tangent, has had some amazing animated films, all in different styles. We've had stop motion with Memoir of a Snail, we had computer animation with Flow, and now we have hand-drawn with The Glassworkers. Great stuff, VAFF. I'm loving it so far. In addition to the animation, the score in here, it's so good. You think about iconic Ghibli films. This film isn't a Ghibli film, but to make that comparison for people out there who don't really know what The Glassworkers is, the score here, it's outstanding. As well as weaves together this love story that is at the central of the film, but on top of a backdrop of this war-torn dictatorship country. And I feel like it has so many themes it's trying to say, and I feel like it does a great job of giving time to all of them and allowing them to prosper to its fullest potential. In addition, this screenplay has so many hidden details and plot points that you aren't expecting when going inside of this film, and I feel like it helps entice and make this overall viewing experience much more impactful.
Neon's given us some of the very most successful and critically acclaimed films in the past decade. So our thanks to Tom Gwynn and Neon for making this screening possible. We're delighted on this Halloween weekend to share Steven Soderbergh's unique take on a ghost story, told from the ghost perspective, with his haunting psychological thriller presence. Enjoy.
And the second film I just watched in that back-to-back was Steven Soderbergh's latest film, Presence, which was a riveting and original take on the iconic ghost story. I think in a very bold move, Soderbergh switches up the formula of ghost stories. He tells the story from the ghost's perspective, and he puts us in the POV of the ghost by having these immersive tracking shots throughout the entirety of the film, which I want to say and reiterate, Steven Soderbergh recently has been shooting all his films with an iPhone, with this right here. Look how much better this film looks than this video right here. And I'll be honest, I'll be upfront, at first, I wasn't on this film's vibe. It has this opening shot, which was very riveting because you are following from room to room with this ghost as they are on their journey. But in between these tracking shots of the ghost, we have black screens. And at first it was like 2 or 3 seconds and it was kind of hard to connect with. But the more often it happens, the longer you're inside the film, you kind of forget about that element and you're just rocking, you're just vibing with the way that Soderbergh decides to tell this story. Because this story as a whole is so engaging, it's so fun, and it's so suspenseful. And like, I don't want to go into the plot, I want to go super deep here, because this film, it's not coming out to 2025, and Neon has it, so it should be getting a decent size release. Think about like Infinity Pool, like a release like that. So it's one I would definitely recommend for all of you out there to catch, because if you crave creativity, you like ghost stories, and you're down for a suspenseful 90 minutes, boy, is Presence the film for you.
Film All We Imagine as Light is part of the Middle Eastern and South Asian cinema series, and I am so delighted to be introducing All We Imagine as Light. Film speaks for itself in terms of its merits. Some brief context that you might pay attention to is that the film is set in Mumbai, so bustling metropolis, and in some ways it's in this tradition of a city film that is an exploration of life in a city. But there's another interesting connection that's woven in, and that is the thread of thinking about cities as sites of migration. isolation. So that experience of what it means to be in a city, but as a having come from somewhere else, is explored in this film through the stories of three women who work at a hospital.
Just like at the start of the day, both of these films were back to back, right on top of each other. I had a little time in the rush line, so I'm going to record this after and, splice it in a chronological order. So the first film on that docket was All We Imagine as Light, the Cannes winning film. And I have to say, I feel like this movie really captured the spirit of Mumbai in a very intriguing and captivating way. I feel like this is a city you hear so much about being vibrant and energetic in it, and it very much captures this beating heart of India. However, when the film decides to leave Mumbai, I feel like I just lost the film's wavelength, and I struggled to stay on the vibe and connect with it. It's a film out there I know a lot of people do love, a lot of people do adore. I expect it to be on the top of many people's lists of films at the end of the year, and I will go read those and try to understand more of what the praise is here, because at least for me, maybe it is the festival lull. It just didn't really work for me as a whole. Saw the film with Akshat, he loved it. I enjoyed my conversation with him about the film, and I look forward to reading his full review of the movie, because like I said, this one just was not as much for me. And now we're in the rush line, and like that we're in.
What makes this film part of the Middle Eastern and South Asian cinema series, given that the director is a white Canadian filmmaker from Winnipeg? The film does take place in Winnipeg, hometown also of Guy Maddin, who, if any of you know his films, it draws on some of the experimental qualities of Maddin. It's been compared by critics and reviewers to Mahmoud Kiarostami, Wes Anderson, but as you watch this film, I think what you'll find is that it's something entirely of its own.
And then after that, I saw Universal Language, and yeah, the moderator before compared this to Wes Anderson, and if you know me, I'm not a huge Wes Anderson fan, and this movie definitely mirrors recent Wes Anderson movies because it interweaves multiple story beats in together, and they occasionally cross paths, and I have found, just like many recent Wes Anderson films, some of these storylines, some of these beats to be a lot more engaging, a lot more funny, a lot more thought-provoking and visually stunning than other ones. And again, much like recent Wes Anderson films, Universal Language decides to focus on probably the most boring, the most mundane, the least comedic of them all. And I fully understand what the film's trying to say, what it's trying to go for, and the reason for its artistic storytelling decisions. But again, kind of like All We Imagine is Light, I just never really got on this film's vibe and this wavelength, and I was always an arm's reach away from really enjoying this movie at large. Everyone around me in the theater was laughing, besides the guy literally right next to me who fell asleep as soon as the movie started and didn't wake up till the end. But I will say, to be positive about Universal Language, the portion that worked best for me was the portion that follows around with the kids. It's where the film starts at, and I feel like the film really hooked me with that because it was both funny, it was both engaging, it was visually stunning. However, once that sequence ends, they barely come back to it, and when they do come back to it, you're like, this works, I want more of this, and when they leave it, and you're just like, why did we leave it in the first place? So overall, saw 4 films today. 2 films pretty high on, 2 films a little bit more mixed on, and the theme of 4 is today was day number 4. One more day to go, day number 5. So until then, my name is Dyl, Fantasy Filmball. Peace.